Okay.
The light is on.
The light is on. Shall I flip that round so we can't get distracted? Yeah. Because we do like to look at ourselves.
We are very pretty.
And we're here for you now. I'm paranoid. Definitely recording, definitely sound coming through. Okay, if only we had a clapperboard. Hello, it's me, Cheddar Gorgeous, and welcome to another exciting edition of Tea with Mother. And this time, I'm joined by an extra super special superstar amazing guest, my dear darling drag SOS sister, Tete Bang!
It's me! I'm on the telly!
Today, we're going to be addressing something very close to Tete's heart. We're going to be speaking about vaginas.
Yeah, there's loads of types of vaginas. We're very inclusive here, all vaginas welcome.
And more specifically, drag queens who have vaginas. We're going to be talking about AFAB queens.
AFAB stands for Assigned Female at Birth. It's kind of a term that people have given us. They used to use bio queen.
I was introduced to the idea of women who do drag as faux queens. So that was
Oh no.
That was the term that was used in America, and they used it with strength. The girls in America did. My amazing friend Trixie Carr, who I adore, introduced me to the idea of faux queens, and it never ever sat comfortably with me. I never liked the idea that we would be declaring a drag queen false because of the fact that they had a vagina.
AFAB is definitely my approved word. You know, I don't particularly like it, but if someone feels like they need to explain my gender, use that word. Leave bio queen and faux queen behind.
I think AFAB's really useful when you want to talk about it as an issue.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So like in this video now, like we're talking about it as an issue, but in our day-to-day lives...
They're just drag queens. I like it because it's got the word fab.
I always say, if it looks like a girl, you call it a queen. If it looks like a boy, you call it a king. And if you can't tell, you just call it a drag.
I mean, who's policing this? Who's going around looking in people's pants before they get on stage?
Well, I'm sure we're going to get on to some of the people who might police that kind of thing as the video goes on. So what is it like as an AFAB queen working in the UK?
Doesn't feel that different. Like day to day, there's not that much that's different. Quite often I've had corporate gigs cancel because they find out you're assigned gender and they have a problem with that, which is boring, but says a lot about you. But day to day, like the community itself is really accepting. I think sometimes there's a generational difference. Maybe like older drag queens don't get it as much, but they still respect you because you're fabulous and you're a queer creature and they understand that. It tends to be, for me, people that are outside of the drag community that have a lot of opinions on drag but actually are not a part of the community in day-to-day life that vocalise how they feel about my gender. I mean, a lot of the time people ask me, like they'll come up and be like, are you a boy or a girl? And I just kind of say, it's none of your business. And actually I quite like the fact that I leave it a bit open as well, like, I don't know, do you know?
So it's come up as an issue and a lot of people were thinking and wondering whether Drag Race UK would feature any AFAB queens.
The British drag community has people of all sorts of genders all along the spectrum, and so we expected that our community would be represented fairly. Turns out we were wrong.
It was very important for us when we were on a TV show called Drag SOS. When we filmed Drag SOS, it was really, really important for us to make sure that we had a AFAB queen, not only in the people we worked with, so we had a lot of women who we worked with, and drag was a really wonderful thing for them, but actually that it was represented as the mentor, so it was the idea that actually you would be in a position of showing people how drag is done, because it seemed like such a hugely important part of our community, but also of the wider issues that are going on in the world.
It's called equality. That means it's equal.
It's been around for a while, this idea.
It's not a new idea.
Yeah, people are finding it hard to catch on.
The clue's in the name.
Right.
Equal, itty. Yeah. We put in the same amount of work, babe.
You're more work. You're the only one of us who makes everything you wear.
Yeah.
You do all of your own hair.
Yeah.
You do all of your own makeup.
Yeah.
You perform.
Yeah.
And you're like a community icon.
Well, thank you.
It's true.
Thanks.
It's true. So basically, the kind of in-joke for me is, she's the best drag queen on this show. And then I was just like,
I can't sew.
I can't sew. I can't do. Why do you think I'm bold?
Sorry, I'm really talented.
So why do you think there has been such a problem in accepting women doing drag on RuPaul's Drag Race?
I think it's just that we're not represented in the mainstream. And so if people don't see people represented in the mainstream, they don't believe they exist. It's like, you know, how in Russia, they don't allow gay propaganda, and so they say, oh no, there's no LGBTQ people here. That's because they're not represented in the mainstream, but they are there, and we are here. We're just not represented on these huge platforms like other people are.
Drag conforms to the dynamics that are dominant in society, doesn't it? People can accept a man turning into a woman because it still has that binariness to it.
Yeah.
Whereas actually a woman dressing elaborately as a woman kind of makes people feel uncomfortable because it reveals all of that real weird shit that we do in the world.
In society, women are told constantly to not be too flamboyant and not to show off and don't be that girl. And drag gives you space to explore all of those things. Women deserve space to explore their femininity. I don't dress like this day to day. You know, this is me expressing a part of my femininity, and you know, drag kings are exploring their masculinity, and that should be equally represented as well.
And let's not forget our kings.
Get it, kings.
We love our kings because they are equally AFAB performers a lot of the time, and also boys who do kinging as well, but today we're talking about AFAB. So let's break it down. I think that there are two main reasons that women have been excluded from RuPaul's Drag Race. The first one that is claimed is unfair advantage, and I think the second one is the notion of drag tradition and queer tradition. Let's deal with number one. Unfair advantage, the idea that either a trans woman or a biological woman somehow has a greater ability or an unfair advantage in order to compete and win RuPaul's Drag Race.
So I'm going to use a specific queen as an example here. Trinity the Tuck. She has had so much surgery and filler and enhancements to make herself appear more feminine that I, as a biological woman, could never have, which make her look way more feminine than I do. You know, I mean, I do have a huge ass, but like a lot of women don't have that shape. A lot of biological women do not have that shape. So where are you drawing the lines here? Where is the advantage? Because if you can just have as much filler and surgery as you want to make yourself appear as a woman, but still identify as a cis man, the lines are very blurred, and it's very confusing to me because some of those women look. Violet Chachki looks more like a woman than I've ever looked.
Well, I think we dealt with that. Number two, the notion of it being somehow a tradition. So there's this story that we're going to tell you. Once upon a time, back in Shakespearean England, or Elizabethan England as it was actually called, women weren't allowed on stage, and so therefore men had to play the role of a woman. William Shakespeare, the only playwright in all of Elizabethan England, used to write in the margins of his play D-R-A-G to denote dressed as a girl. To give the historical
What does the R stand for?
DR, dressed. Doesn't even work as an acronym. This story is bullshit. Total, utter, linguistic bullshit. And that's because William Shakespeare, the only playwright in Elizabethan England, didn't use acronyms. They didn't use acronyms in those times. And also, it would have been implicit that the role was played by a man. There would be no need to denote it.
Because they didn't let women on stage!
Because they didn't let women on stage!
That's called suppression.
In the words of Celine Dion, you have been seriously misled.
I like the finger action.
Actually, it was probably more related to the idea of a large theatrical costume dragging along the ground, right? And if we take that on board, it means that we can embrace that it's much more about theatricality and less about a boy dressing up as a girl. So we can embrace the idea that maybe drag is something that always has been open to everyone, or maybe always should have been open to everyone. That idea of drag being a man dressing as a woman, that's not a drag tradition at all. That's a much older tradition in our world. and it's called patriarchal oppression. It's the same.
It all goes back to patriarchal oppression.
It's the same tradition that kept women out of law, that kept women out of medicine, that kept women out of owning property, that kept women from getting the vote.
Gay men have the upper hand within the LGBT community. You know, lesbians have often been segregated from events and from clubs. For a long time, you know, the men went to a specific club and the women went to a specific club, and we're moving on from that now. We're all coming together and saying, no, we are more powerful as a unit. Don't segregate us anymore, please.
Just having a moment there.
I don't think it's fair as well that, you know, when you go to like drag race shows, the majority of the crowd are straight women, are cisgendered women, and so they are making millions and millions of pounds off young women and young girls being their fans, but then you're not going to invite us to participate in your games. You're just going to take the money and run, which is what men have been doing with women for the entire of history. Michelle Visage has been by his side, handing him those jokes for 10 years. She says she is a drag queen. You can't ask for our validation and our opinion and then not invite us to the party. Sorry to break it to you, Jeds. I'm breaking it down today.
It's fine.
It's brutal.
I don't know what the right thing to say is that is gonna please Mama Visage. I don't know which
No, I
one.
love Michelle. I just wish
We all
she'd
do.
like give him a slap and be like, come on, catch up. Go to a drag bar right now and see who's performing on the stage, and then you'll know.
I know you've got a lot of houses to tour, but maybe you should go out to the clubs a little bit, darling.
If he'd
Know
have
what I
come
mean?
to London or come to the UK and actually done research about our community and gone to local club nights, and the most successful club nights, for example, like, you know, Cha-Cha,
Yeah.
Sink the Pink, all of the huge drag events that happen in the UK are so diverse. Gender diversity, sexuality diversity, everybody's welcome to the party because that is what we represent. Let us on your telly show! It's not fun that the gay men get to have all the fun. They always get to have all the fun. You get all the saunas, you get all
we
the cruising spots.
To play devil's advocate,
Yeah.
is the reason why women aren't on the show yet because she is waiting for the right moment for that to happen, because she has to use people's expectations of drag in order to have made the show as big as it is. It's an Emmy award-winning show. That must have been, you know, if she'd have come out and just kind of gone, we can't really define drag in any clear way, it's really ambiguous, people maybe wouldn't have bought it.
America's Next Top Model did it. They did Battle of the Sexes. I know plenty of female drag queens that would happily be on a team together and we'll do Battle of the Sexes. We'll play fair.
It's, you know what, it's a good one-off special.
It is a good one-off special.
Gonna throw that out there, Rue, if you're watching.
One-off special.
I know you tune in, Rue, every week.
We do love you, Ru. Quite often people say, oh, you must not like RuPaul. I do. I really respect everything he's done. He's done so much, but I just really think that when it gets to a point where you have so much power and influence, you have a responsibility. And I think he has a responsibility and he's not using it to its full advantage.
What would you like from performers like me, just even maybe performers out there who are in their scenes now? How can we help and use our maleness to further the aim that we all have of equality?
Book us. Make sure you have a diverse lineup. If you're a booker, make sure you have people of all different gender identities and all different colours. That's really, really important, and it's one of the biggest things you can do, because if you don't see yourself represented on the stage, you are never going to feel like you belong anywhere in the world. And to me, that's the most important thing. We've got stories to tell, especially in like this age of the Me Too movement and women's stories being heard. We have stories to tell. We have also been suppressed for years and years and years and have not had a platform to say how we feel or where we've been or what we've experienced. And now is the time. Give us the space to do it.
One of those things that for me is a real point of tension and a real tearing thing. And when people ask me, would you be on the RuPaul's Drag Race? I don't know whether I can, whilst so many members of my community are excluded.
That's a decision you'll have to make. From a business point of view, I understand why people do it. Does it make me feel a bit uncomfortable? I would be lying if I said it didn't. But that's a decision you have to make. I mean, I think it would be nice if at least one of them spoke out and said, we've got a problem with this, but I'm sure they're contracted within an inch of their life, so I don't know if anyone will be doing that, but yeah, more allyship would be really fabulous. And I'm sure people of colour and Scottish people feel the same.
Well, we've been honest, we've told you our feelings, and we're going to wait to see what happens next.
It's 2019 now, and if we're exploring this idea of like gender being a spectrum, and some people are non-binary, some people are, you know, male, some people are female, some people are somewhere in between.
Gender, far from dead, is actually a mossy journey that flourishes in many different directions and is unique to the individual as we figure out our relationship between our body, our sexuality and our identity.
And we're accepting this queerness as a concept, then that should go into our mainstream media as well. And so by saying, oh, actually, you're only really allowed to be a cisgendered man and be on the show, you're basically ignoring this progression we're making as a community. And I think, as RuPaul is the most powerful gay man in the world at the moment, he has a responsibility to say, this is the future, this is the direction we're going, and we need to change our concept of gender and binaries and boxes. And unfortunately, he's stuck in his ways. What do we do? Don't drop that though! I'm gonna get told off for that.
I meant to capture
Whose is that?
I don't know.
I bet it's Licorice.
Darling, it's been wonderful having you here.
I love you.
Friends, I love you too.
We believe drag is for everyone, and you're all welcome to the party.
Join us next time for Tea with Mother, where we'll be talking about what is drag and what's the point anyway.
What is the point?
See you soon.
See ya!